VPNs have become a staple of the internet world. One service you'll see people talk a lot about is obviously NordVPN, as we've just seen. It's very popular for a good reason. But the average user may not know if it's really for them, if it's the right choice, because there are dozens and dozens and dozens of VPN services. And that ends today as I'm sharing the most honest and in-depth NordVPN review you'll find on YouTube. And really, I'm not exaggerating when I say I put NordVPN through its paces. I've tested literally every corner of the platform, every feature, and now I really want to share the results with you. The headline is that it's very much worth the hype, but there are key areas that can improve, and I want to share everything with you before you sign up for the service so you really know what's going on. Let's kick things off with why most people use a VPN in the first place. To unblock geo-restricted websites and streaming services. You've seen this. When using NordVPN, you can unblock Netflix. I've tried it with Amazon Prime. I've used HBO. I use Hulu, Disney Plus, BBC iPlayer. There are many, many others too. Too many for me to mention them all, but you'll be happy to know that you can unblock all the big players in the streaming world. I've even tested it with smaller regional streaming sites like 9Now, Binge, ITVX, and have never found one that NordVPN can't access. Even German television can be unblocked. So you can really watch it all. I want to move on to performance and speed. It's important because some, shall I say, inferior VPNs slow down your internet connection quite a bit when you're connected to a server. The reality is all VPNs do this, but the best ones slow it down the least. And this is where NordVPN excels. And there are a few ways it ensures great performance. Now, first is the amount of server locations it offers. So there are 142 server locations spread across 110 countries. Quick VPN lesson for those who don't know: the closer you are to a VPN server, the better the performance you'll experience. Quite logical, right? So if you're on vacation, say in Mexico, but want to access your US Netflix library, you should, in theory, enjoy a faster connection than if you were connected from, say, somewhere in Europe. It's just the larger distance, obviously. So having said that, we tested it from the US, and speeds were still very, very good and consistent. Now, I've been running speed tests for NordVPN for around 6 or 7 years. Yes, that is years. And I want to share a 30-day overview of recent data, as it gives enough detail to analyze how well it performs in terms of speed and consistency. For context, I did the test on a 100 megabits for downloads and 10 megabits for uploads internet connection across different regions. And remember, there's always going to be a drop-off when connected to a VPN. So in the US, downloads dipped around 15% for downloads, pretty much the same for uploads, and this is very good performance, and our friends in the UK can enjoy similar results. Brazil saw the best performance downloads, only having an 8% drop-off and a 10% for upload. Impressively, Australia servers did well. I've seen other services drop by almost 30% in this region for downloads. With Nord, it keeps pace with other regions. And global performance was very good too, with the same 10 to 15% drop off. The word that springs to mind is, it's consistency. NordVPN really is one of the best in this department when it comes to global performance. And then there is latency. A low number is what you want to see here, and Nord does excellent going as low as 3 milliseconds. The reality is, latency performance really only excels on US servers. This is true for most services, and I'll bring up the chart here on the screen, but as you can see, those numbers have a huge spike in every other region, with Brazil being the next best performer. I have really plenty of data on other VPNs too, and I've tested them in multiple regions outside the US, and I'll drop a link to the results in the description below. Beyond the standard servers, Nord offers specialty servers. You've got an Onion over VPN, a dedicated IP, a double VPN, and peer-to-peer, and obfuscated servers. These are actually really useful and not just some gimmicks. So the double VPN, for example, will connect to 2 servers simultaneously. And this is pretty useful because let's say one of the servers fails. The other will keep you connected and protected, and this ensures your browsing remains private and your performance keeps going. So you can customize which servers you want to connect to, including the country. Onion over VP, well, anyway, it works as it automatically activates the Tor privacy network once you connect to a server. This gives more privacy when browsing, and you can also connect to the Tor network through any browser, whereas typically you needed a specialty browser to do this. The peer-to-peer servers are for anyone who uses peer-to-peer networks for file sharing, private messaging, and other forms of online interactions. And there are 50 servers in total, and all of them allow torrenting. They're very reliable and offer a continuous stable connection even if the central server has issues. Now, as for the dedicated IP address, what happens is you get assigned an IP address that you can continuously use and nobody else has access to. And this comes in very handy because it helps you avoid those annoying CAPTCHAs that crop up when you're connected to a VPN. You can also avoid block lists, and it makes it easier to do online banking while still being connected to the VPN. The obfuscated servers come in handy as more and more websites and apps become VPN aware. What I mean by that is they're able to detect you using a VPN and can continue to block access. So what Nord does is remove all the data related to the VPN and makes your connection look like regular packets. It won't always work, but it's really great when it does. Outside of its servers, there are a couple of features I will quickly share with you. First is the kill switch. Don't worry, it's not going to activate worldwide nuclear war if you touch it. But it will disconnect you from the internet if your VPN connection drops. The main use of this is it keeps your browsing private data safe at all times. And the other is split tunneling, which lets you pick and choose which data is encrypted through a VPN and which isn't. The slight downside is that it's app-based only, so it doesn't work smoothly through browsers. And there are some workarounds, like using 2 different browsers, which isn't overly difficult, but for the most part, you're using this feature through applications rather than web-based services. This is a basic feature, but for some reason, it's only available on Windows and Android. Sorry, Apple users. Another feature I want to touch on is MeshNet. We wrote a whole article about this, which I'll leave in the description if you're interested, but here's really what you need to know. MeshNet essentially lets you create an encrypted tunnel directly between 2 different devices, similar to how a VPN creates a tunnel between your device and a VPN server. There are 4 main ways to use MeshNet. First is a remote device access. Let's say you want to access a file on your computer, but you're out of town. And if you have another device with MeshNet enabled, you can access that file remotely. It's super handy, especially if you're always on the move, if you're a digital nomad, if you're traveling a lot. That feature is a lifesaver. Say I want to share a file with a colleague who is in a different country. We can both connect to MeshNet and share files securely, and you can use this basically for free, by the way, and you just need to sign up for a NordVPN account. It also removes the need to sign up and pay for a third-party cloud storage service just for the sake of file sharing. Also, if you're on vacation, you can connect a device to your home network IP address. So if you've left your main device in the States, you can watch your streaming services with ease. This is especially useful as more streaming services come down on VPN use. Many of them ask you to connect via a home IP address every now and then. With MeshNet, you can play the game and get streaming and get your Harry Potter fix. The last benefit I want to mention relates to gamers. With MeshNet, you can host a LAN party. It's a more cost-effective and secure way of playing games together, as you can all connect through your local network. Just ensure your friends all have access to a device through MeshNet. I want to also touch on security and privacy, both on how Nord protects you from outside threats and how it stays away from your data when using the platform. NordVPN offers what it calls threat protection. This is going to make sure you're protected against malicious malware or phishing scams, that kind of thing. And it also blocks ads to and scans apps and files on your system to basically look for vulnerabilities that you might have. There's also a dark web monitor. Basically, NordVPN can scan dark websites known for illegally buying and selling your data, like passwords, for example. If NordVPN suspects you may be a victim of data leaks and breaches, it will let you know and you can update your credentials. So, Nord uses two VPN protocols for security. The first one is its in-house protocol, which it calls NordLynx. It's actually built on WireGuard, which is an open source protocol, but Nord has customized it and built its own system on top of it. Nord's adaptation adds a new IP address for every new session, so it doesn't store any data in this regard. In contrast, WireGuard alone stores your original IP address on a server, which many users find to be a breach of privacy, and I'd be inclined to agree with them. Because it's built on WireGuard, which is a lightweight infrastructure by design, NordLynx allows for very fast performance while not compromising on security. Looking under the hood, the protocol only has around 4,000 lines of code, which may sound like a lot, but in relative terms, it isn't. For example, OpenVPN has around 70,000. Now, if you don't feel NordLynx is for you, the other protocol is OpenVPN. Now, some people prefer this because it has a long-standing good history of being secure and it uses 256-bit encryption. It can also work over TCP and UDP, which helps it bypass several firewalls that other VPN protocols are unable to. It's also open source, so you'll see frequent updates and improvements, and it's also customizable. Like I say, it's more bloated than NordLynx in terms of code, which can lead to sometimes slower speeds and maybe cause issues when streaming or maybe gaming. How NordVPN handles privacy is also something that I like about the platform. It doesn't share your data with others and has never handed over user data to local authorities. It also has what it calls a strict no logs policy. To you and me, that means Nord isn't tracking what you're doing online when connected to a virtual network. It won't even log bandwidth use or even IP addresses. It also uses RAM-only servers, which I'll explain. Some services use hard drives rather than RAM servers, but hard drives, well, they store your data, whereas RAM-only servers don't. In fact, they delete data each time a connection is reset. So, if anyone did break through security, there would be no data for them to find, which is obviously great. Nord did this in response to a security breach back in 2018. What happened was some data was leaked that gave away users' browsing habits while connected to the VPN. Nord was very upfront about this and acted quickly to resolve the problem. It's not had any issues since then, but I just wanted to be transparent about it, that there have been issues in the past with NordVPN. So, we've got all these great features, and security and privacy are top-notch. But how easy is NordVPN to use, and how good is the user experience? Well, for me, very good. When you open up either the Windows or macOS app, you'll see you'll have two ways to connect to the servers. Either via the list of nations in the left-hand menu or via the interactive map. Both the map view and list view let you zone in and select a specific server within a country. Personally, I prefer using the map view as it feels less clunky than clicking on the three dots over in the list view, but really it comes down to preference. You can also search quickly for the country if you know to which country you want to connect. Now, you can access most of the features in the left-hand menu, and if I had a slight criticism, it would be that Nord uses symbols rather than text. Not the worst thing, but it will no doubt take new users some clicking around to understand exactly what the symbols represent. And it shouldn't take too long to learn and to get through it, but it could be a bit more intuitive. You're obviously gonna get less real estate when using the mobile apps, but in all honesty, Nord has done a good job of adapting its UI for mobile users. The server menu overlaps the maps, so if you prefer a map view, you're gonna wanna hold it horizontally. And as far as connection goes, servers remain connected for as long as I want them to, and the app is snappy and pretty easy to operate and navigate, so nothing to complain about really. So let's look at the cost of NordVPN. I have some recommendations on how to maximize the most value, so stay tuned. I'll bring the month-to-month prices up first. Now, these are pretty average in terms of current market pricing, not cheap, but not overly expensive either. What happens is when you can bring down the prices to yearly and the 2-yearly plans, you start to see pretty exceptional value for your money here. And if you're gonna go with Nord, I recommend doing the longer term plans. And by the way, they all have a 30-day money back guarantee, so you get a test drive for a month with no real commitment. And you can get the access to the current discounts through our links in the description box below. And by clicking on one of those links, you also support the channel. This review is not sponsored by NordVPN. However, we do get a small kickback when you sign up through one of our links to NordVPN. Keep in mind, the lower the plan, the less features you're gonna get. On the basic plan, you're gonna miss out on Threat Protection Pro features like malware protection and the ad blockers. You don't get Nord's password manager either, which is really useful for storing your passwords in case you ever forget them, or if you don't have a dedicated password manager already, which you probably should be getting anyway. Not much separates the Plus and the Ultimate plans, but interestingly, you get 1 terabyte of encrypted cloud storage on the Ultimate plan, which comes through Nord Locker. Maybe I'll add Nord to the best cloud storage services in the future. We'll have to wait and see how their cloud storage development really turns out to be and if it's something to recommend. So for Nord, it excels in a lot of the key areas. When I think of what I personally want a VPN to do, NordVPN for me checks all the boxes. Being able to customize a double connection would be a nice addition in the future, but I'm plucking feathers here when thinking about how the service can really improve. Now, as I say, there's a 30 days money back guarantee. So the best way to see is basically to try it out. Click on the links in our description so you can sign up, test if it unblocks your streaming service, and if it does, well, great, you can watch a show and also enjoy a good bit of privacy. And if it's not for you, well, then check out my reviews of, for example, Surfshark and ExpressVPN, 2 very sound alternatives that I can highly recommend. But honestly, I'm interested in your thoughts. What do you know? What do you think about NordVPN? Have you used it in the past? Let me know in the comments, and also don't forget to like and subscribe and tap the bell icon so YouTube notifies you when I next publish. Until the next video, see ya.